Hello, Shante, and welcome to I Have an App Idea, the podcast where we talk to aspiring and future founders about their journey to and through app entrepreneurship. Very happy to have you here today.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, we connected, I don't even know like what month that was. It's been so long now,
July.
but okay. And we met in Baltimore at the Rare Breed VC event. And then got reconnected here in Atlanta. So it was just great to see you again. But I am so curious about your journey because I feel like you guys have such a unique product. And I actually was talking to someone about it earlier today.
Oh,
And they
really?
were like, huh, what? I didn't know that existed. What's that? So I would love to hear a little bit about your background because I know you had mentioned to me before that you had moved to Atlanta a few years ago. So you're not from the area, I'm assuming.
Mm-mm.
But tell me a little bit about your background and then a little bit about your company, WellCapped.
Yeah, so I'm from Canton, Ohio,
Okay.
a smaller town in Northeast Ohio, but did go to undergrad here in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I went to Spelman College, graduated in 2012, and moved back to Ohio to start working for Progressive Insurance as a pricing analyst, and then later on a competitive intelligence analyst. And then from there, when I was in college, I was in ROTC. So had to go out to Fort Huachuca to do some intel training. I was a military intelligence officer on the weekends and in the National Guard.
And are
And
you still in the National Guard?
no,
Okay.
but I did 8 years,
Oh, wow. Wow.
including ROTC.
Okay.
So I went to boot camp, MI Bullock, AIT, did a lot of training in the military. So had a lot of experience with leading people older than me, people who didn't look like me. Um, yeah, that's a whole different story.
Now, how did all of those experiences culminate to you creating WellCap? So tell me what it is, because I'm not sure all of our viewers know exactly what it is. So tell me a little bit about the company and how did you get to be involved with this?
So WellCapped is a rental platform for hair extensions and wigs. And I started the idea, my aunt gave it to me in 2021. I was working at PwC at the time, and did something called a venture studio, which is where they give you the capital up front and work with you over 16 weeks to come up with a new idea. So the first 4 weeks you're pitching, doing ideation.
How did you
And
even hear about like the
you
Venture
know what?
Studio?
Let me take you back. So in
Yeah, because
20,
like I feel like Venture Studio is a new concept for. I
yeah,
mean, it's not new to like the tech world, but it's new to a lot of
I
us,
had
right?
no clue.
How did you even like hear? Because I feel like so many people, if they heard about a Venture Studio and they'd be like, oh yeah, I want to do it. I'm curious
Yeah.
about it. So how did that get on your radar?
Yeah, so funny story. I had just had my daughter and was returning back to the office with PwC. I think I did like a 7 month maternity leave. Um, and was doing a lot of research about people returning to the office and found that I can't remember the stat, but it was a high number of women who didn't return to the office. And the companies are spending 30% of that person's salary. So someone making, let's call it 150,000 a year, the company would spend 45,000 to replace that person if they didn't return after maternity leave. So I wanted to start a company to fix that problem. And I went to Google to look for someone to create a logo. And I was on Upwork actually, typed in like logo creation, and an ad for a venture studio popped up, and it said entrepreneurs wanted. You don't need an ideal. If you if you want to be an entrepreneur, join this venture studio. Apply today. And I was a week out from the deadline at the time, so I applied. Somehow ended up getting in, and before because they have to make an investment up front, you have to come up with the name of your corporation
Uh huh.
before you even have an idea. So I knew I wanted to create something that helped moms not have to choose between being a great executive and being a great mother and being a great wife. So I came up with the name Have It Too, like you can eat your cake and have it too.
Oh, that's nice. I like that's a
And
good ring to it.
So that we still to this day operate under Habitu, and then our DBA is WellCapped.
Okay.
But yeah, I was on the phone with my aunt one day, and my aunt gave me the idea for WellCapped. And now that I look back at my life from majoring in economics to being an officer in the military and learning how to make decisions under pressure, to being a pricing analyst, to being a competitive intelligence analyst. And then I went and got my MBA from NYU. And then I did procurement for PwC, which was so boring, but I use it so much now.
Mm-hmm.
And then even to my time at Wayfair, I was at Wayfair for a year as a senior merchandising manager. When I
You've been
look
all
at
over corporate. You've done all the things. I feel like all of these things like culminated together to make you like a Swiss Army knife in business.
But I used to always feel like my life and my career was so random.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look back now, it's so funny because it's like, oh wow, God was preparing me for this role. And even when you look at the name Habitu, my co-founder, Lauren Mitchell, who's also my cousin, we've been playing around with what our brand is, like what's the brand story.
Mm-hmm.
And we started thinking like, okay, yes, we have a rental company for hair extensions and wigs, but we want something deeper. Like Apple back in the 90s, they had the whole Think Different campaign. Like, we're not selling you computers. We build for people who think differently. With WellCapped, we're building something for women who don't want to have to choose between being a great executive and being a great mother. Like, we believe you really can have it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just giving you time back in your day. Like, you can look good and you can bake your cake and eat it and have it too. So.
Now, you're selling it, but from what I read, you weren't sold on the idea at first. How did you warm up to the idea? Like, what information or experience did you have that made you realize, oh, we might be on to something here?
Yeah, my aunt gave me I was on the phone with her. I was on driving to pick up my daughter. And at the time, I was still working at PwC.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2021. I still remember the phone conversation. I was picking up my daughter on the phone with my aunt. I'm like, I have a presentation tomorrow for the Venture Studio, but I also have a lot of work for PwC to get done. I have no clue what I'm going to pitch tomorrow. So I have 24 hours to come up with a new idea and put together a deck.
Mm-hmm.
And my aunt said, someone should create a company like Rent the Runway, which is a company that rents out clothing and accessories for a monthly fee.
Mm-hmm.
But she said someone should create Rent the Runway, but for hair extensions. And at first, I did not like the idea.
What didn't you like?
I remember I paused while I was driving, like, it's 2021.
Yeah.
We are barely out of COVID days.
And now you talking about renting hair extensions. I don't know, auntie. I don't know.
But I started thinking about how much money I was spending and still spend on my hair. And not just like having hair extensions is very expensive, right? And not just in terms of money, but also in terms of time. Going to the salon, sitting there, having someone do a braid down, like that's a lot of time that I already don't have. And then even when I was wearing my natural hair, that's even more time. You want to talk about doing a twist out every night?
Wash day. And then when your twist out don't come out right, that's like the worst feeling. Oh my gosh.
So I was thinking about how much time I was spending. And then I remembered from business school, the class I took where they were talking about startups and disruptions. And when you're looking to disrupt an industry, you want three things. The first being a fragmented market, because you don't want to have to compete with the big dogs. No one wants to have to compete with Facebook, Google, Amazon. And then the second thing that you want is a growing market. So at the very minimum, you want it to be outpacing inflation. And then the third thing that you want is an antiquated model. So something that looks the same way today that it did back in 1982 or 1985. And the hair industry fit all three of those qualifiers. There's been no real innovation since, I guess, moving from the corner store to .com.
I remember like buying, like when I was in college, you couldn't get access to high-end extensions. You had to buy like what we call bin hair at the hair store, whatever, little packs they had on the wall. And it's just the quality of the extensions have come a long way, but everyone kind of sells it in the same way, right? Yeah. And it's hard to say like, well, who actually has the better quality? And then what happens, like, you've seen some brands be around long enough where the quality of the brand has actually gotten better or gone downhill, right? And so, yeah, I definitely think this is kind of a dated industry. But, like, I know you kind of did your market research, but was there a particular moment where you and your cousin validated the idea and, like, confirmed with the audience that, like, this is it?
A lot of it, to be honest, in the early days was a bit anecdotal. Like, I remember being in college and having to choose between having money to go out for the month or get my hair done. And every single time I was getting my hair done, I'm like, I don't really need a textbook, but what I do need is to get my hair done. And then also just thinking about growing up, my aunt who gave me the idea for WellCapped, who, like I mentioned, she's like a second mom to me. I remember she had a basement salon, and I remember watching the faces of people coming in, talking to her, telling their problems, and then the way that they would look and the pep in their step that they would have when leaving the salon. And like, so I knew how much power there was in giving that type of confidence, giving that feeling, that joy to women, and I knew that was invaluable. But when it came to us, like figuring out our pricing, because no one had ever done that before, we received our willingness to pay number from Forbes. Actually, we read in Forbes that women were spending $1,800 annually on hair extensions and wigs. Women who buy hair extensions and wigs. I think that number is low, just from talking to people who I know. But we went with that number. And that
I feel like the girls who wear the bundles keep a fresh set of bundles, right? Yeah. Whereas like I have a friend who just got her first sew-in this year, and we're in our mid to late 30s, and she just got her first, and she was like, "Oh," and she didn't know she could keep it in for like 2 to 3 months, and she was like, "Oh." First, she was like feeling herself, but then secondly, she was like, "Oh, there's some utility here that I could keep this in for a while, and I can maintain this look." And so she was really feeling that. But those girls don't buy hair nearly as much. I think there's a huge disparity there in the market. But for those who do spend it, they spending it. They spending it on the regular, and it's nothing. Yeah,
and we knew that we wanted to provide a lot of value to our members. So when I think about value, it's the gap between the price and your willingness to pay. So how much are you willing to spend on this good or service? And we knew that the willingness to pay was $1,800. We got that number from Forbes. And then we then had to figure out what our price would be. So the average cost of a high quality wig is around $600, which means you're only getting 3 different looks. So what we said was, hey, would you be willing to try out this crazy idea and get 12 different looks for $1,200? Which still gives you, like, even if you're only getting 3 different looks for $1,200, you still have a nice gap between your willingness to pay and your value. I'm sorry, not your value, your price that you're paying.
I know what you meant.
But we wanted to see how broad we could get it where we're still profitable.
So did you guys have to put up the money to buy those initial set of wigs, or did you pursue investors to do that? How did that work?
Yeah, so we received $100,000 through the venture studio.
Okay.
And we were able to use that for buying inventory. And I had no clue what I was doing. Like, I think I paid someone from Squarespace a crazy amount. He did a great job on our first website, but it was way too high for our MVP. And then I was buying wigs that didn't really look that good for like $800.
Oh, wow.
I made
a lot of trial and error, very costly $800 mistakes.
Yeah, a lot of different mistakes that we made in those early days. But I'm grateful that we were able to at least prove our concept, which is, hey, we had a thesis that, hey, if given an option, people would be willing to rent wigs instead of buying them. And we were able to prove that true in the early days just from being scrappy. And
now, how did you overcome the objection? I know you thought about it when your aunt said it. I know I thought about it. I know what I do. I think more so than anything, I know what I do with my bundles. And after I'm done with my bundles, they are not fit for anybody else to wear. So how did you overcome the objection of like cleanliness, especially like post-COVID, as far as I'm sure people were like, okay, well, I'm receptive to possibly renting, but how are you going to keep this clean?
Yeah, honestly, my co-founder does a good job. She's our CMO, and she does a good job at just using ambassadors and telling a WellCapped story, and then putting that sanitization process front and center. But there have been times where even me, we'll have a post go viral. Like someone will post about us and it'll go viral, but it's going viral for all the wrong reasons. If you read the comments, it's people talking about how gross that is and like how they would never do that. And of course, you have the men all up in a woman's business saying,
y'all don't need to wear wigs anyway. Why y'all wear the hair
women need to focus on
natural hair? And then they talk about the woman with the natural hair.
All y'all care about our Eurocentric values.
Oh my gosh.
So there will be days when I literally have to turn my phone off and get off social media. But now the more mature me, now that I've been a founder, I've learned that's my job. My job is to show you the future in a way that you didn't see it before. The same way that Brian Chesky, I think I'm pronouncing his last name right, but the same way he had to show people like the beauty of Airbnb, how to sleep in a stranger's bed on their mattress, someone you've never met before. The same way Travis had to convince people to get into a stranger's car. Like my whole job is for you to show you a future that you haven't seen before.
Okay, and so what audience did you guys feel like you really hit like product market fit with? Like when you I'm sure you went through a lot of different demographics and like personas when you're trying to figure out like who is going to be the person that is going to subscribe to this service. Like who did you find the great fit with?
The bougie black girls, that's what we call them. But it's the girls who they are already familiar with a lot of the sharing economy. They're ahead of the curve when it comes to new technology out there. They're renting from Rent the Runway, newly already, so they already get it. They also know how to read, so they understand.
They're doing their own research
works.
to figure out what the process is like.
And they're spending money they're spending a lot of money already on hair, and they want to have fun. Like they don't want to go to work with the same hairstyle every day, but they also don't want to spend $700, $800 on a wig for a vacation that they know they would never wear to the office for whatever reason. Though that's her target audience. One of the mistakes we made in the early days was going after like the trendy girls.
Because that's what my first thought was influencers. Because I have to be like, if I'm a regular work girly, like I'm not gonna change my wig 3 times a month. But if I'm an influencer and I have to be on camera, maybe I will change my wig.
The girl, especially the younger women, they have so much time. They're okay with buying a Shein wig and putting in 5 hours of work to make it look really good. And they'll keep doing it every month. Like they're okay with buying the different wigs from Shein and Amazon. A lot of our customers don't come to us for versatility, which is what we tell people is our biggest value proposition. A lot of our customers come to us for convenience and they don't want to spend time. It's human hair, right? The wigs are made with human hair, so you still have to wash it. Something I'm about to be doing tonight.
I understand, girl. This is morning.
You still have to wash it. You still have to take care of it. You still have to revitalize it and make it look brand new. So we offer them that convenience. We give them time back in their day.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier that you worked on your first, like, I guess, MVP was with someone from Squarespace, right?
Yeah.
How did you decide, like, what product, like, how the platform would operate? Like, if you were going to have a web app, if you're going to have a mobile app, like how did you decide this is the right platform for our target audience?
Great question. We started with Squarespace, and then we went over to a company that builds out websites for rental companies, but their main customers are in the construction space. So maybe you're renting out tools, or I don't know.
So they didn't really get it?
No, it's not that they didn't get it. It was just that when you looked at our website, it looked like something that would integrate into Home Depot.
Yeah, rugged.
It wasn't giving Sephora.
It was brute, right? It was brute. I feel like a lot of companies like that, like even if they have the functionality and capability to build it, like sometimes they just still don't get it, right? And I don't know if it's because a lot of these companies are male-led, or they just don't take the time to better understand like the customer that they're serving and the market that the end user represents.
Yeah, 100%. I think we also realize like we're selling beauty at the end of the day. We could say whatever, but we're selling beauty. So if the pictures don't look good, if people don't feel good coming to the website, right now we have a few mannequin head pictures on our website, and those styles, we cannot pay people to rent them out. So people, the way things look and feel on our website really do matter.
So how did you rectify things with that company? Did you just like let them build it and let the functionality be great, but then come in with another designer to clean it up? Or what did that process look like for you?
We hired a designer to make it look pretty, but then what we realized is a lot of the apps we wanted to add a loyalty program, a referral program. And when we were doing the math on what it would cost to build out those APIs, it didn't make sense for us. So instead, we decided to go with Shopify, which is meant only for e-commerce companies, right? But everyone, if you're building something for an e-commerce company, you want to make sure you integrate with Shopify, right? Like it's just, if I'm
the 800-pound gorilla and you can't really avoid it.
Yeah. So, all of the apps and the plugins that we needed, they all had some type of Shopify integration. So we decided to build on Shopify and to hack it that way by adding. And right now we have a plugin that handles subscriptions for traditional e-commerce companies. Like, for example, if you have a favorite toothpaste and you know you're going to need it once a month, they'll charge your card once a month and then create an order through Shopify. Now, what they don't worry about are the reverse logistics part of it. So making sure like that order is being sent back in.
It sounds like you had to learn that the hard way.
We manually update a Google Sheet form to handle all of that. And then we have an Airtable form to handle the inventory, because on Shopify, they only care about things at the SKU level. But we need to know things at the item level to see who has which and does it need a repair done. Do we need to quit using a vendor for the lace? So yeah, we need to know things at the item number. So we use Airtable for that, and then we use a program like Zapier to make it all work together. Together. And that's been a headache, but thank goodness I believe we found an app that will do everything that we need. I believe.
Are you testing it right now? Are you on the testing process for it?
The founder, I hope he never hears this, but the founder found us through Techstars, and he reached out a year ago. And I was talking to him, but then I got cold feet.
I think it's okay to get cold feet.
Because I'm like, you're a startup, I'm a startup.
Like, if we both start, that'd be like Spider-Man. Like, if we both started up, like, what if something goes wrong here? Like,
so he did a lot of work for us, and then I ended up ghosting him.
Aww.
I know, I'm not a good person.
Don't say that.
That was not a good thing. But now he ghosted me. I reached out to him. We had a really good conversation.
He was like, I did all this for you. We were supposed to be twins. We were supposed to be locked in, and you forgot.
I was just playing with them girls. I was going to get right back.
You forgot about me. So He's showing you what it feels like.
But he's based out of the UK, so I keep hoping like I wake up to
an email at like 2:00 in the morning, being like, bruv, I was on holiday, you know.
But no, everything that you know how normally when you're talking to a developer and you ask a question and they're like, "Oh no, we don't have that right now, but it's on our roadmap." When we met a year ago, they had a very long roadmap. And then a few weeks ago, I went to go check out their website, and they really did everything that was on their roadmap.
Listen, you know what? That is so relatable, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's not something I was thinking about top of mind when we was fleshing out this interview, but like that is something. Like I had that same thing happen. I found a company that I wanted to work with last year, maybe like November, October, and so they were like, I was like, okay, when is this product going to be done? Because I need it. You guys have all the features and functionality that I need, and I need it ASAP. And they're like, okay, it's going to be done by January, right? And so I was on those people. Like, I was in their face every single day. Like, maybe every 2 weeks, I'm hitting them, hey, how's it going, guys? And they're like, Amanda, we will let you know. Right. We will send you, and the hundreds of thousands of other customers, not just you, an email update when the product is done. And they did eventually finish the product, but it took, I don't think they finished it until like July. Yeah. So I feel like your fear is absolutely valid. Yeah. And like, imagine if I would have positioned my company solely based on their roadmap and how their product was coming along. And then I'm thinking I'm about to roll out in January, February, and it's July, and I ain't got nothing. Yeah. So that is a very relatable fear. Yeah. It's very understandable. I hate that like y'all are in this like holding pattern of ghosting each other.
I sent the email this morning like, hey, sorry to be annoying here.
Some good vibes, and hopefully he hits you back. Hopefully he hears this interview and knows that you are sorry and that you still want to work with him.
I'm sorry, Ryan.
So with that, like, I want to talk about some of the challenges you experience. You kind of touched on them a little bit, but like, what has been like the most like insightful or transformational thing you've learned about the product side and like managing a product, and coming from like the business world to actually being like a product founder?
I really feel lucky because there are so many. I feel like there isn't a better time to build WellCapped than now, because there are so many tools out there, especially now with like these new AI tools that are coming out. You really don't have to know code. And when it is a tool that, for example, my co-founder, we had something going on our website that was hard-coded that we had paid someone to do. And my co-founder used ChatGPT to fix the code.
Oh, wow.
You know? So I think there's never been a more affordable time to build a company than now, which sounds like a really, really good thing, an exciting thing. But on the flip side of that, the barriers to entry for a new company, they're so low. So now you have all of these startups competing for capital. And then because interest rates are just now coming down, whenever interest rates are higher, the private markets suffer first. So that's just a reality. The first thing that drives up is capital in the private markets, because you can make more money just saving that money than risking it, right? And now that interest rates are coming down, capital is freeing up a little bit, but you have so many more players in the market.
We're like, so using no code and low code apps, using AI to get into the market. And maybe they have something good, but maybe they don't, right? But they're competing for the same cash as you.
Yeah, and even like I feel like patents are so disrespected now. So you really do have to focus on building a brand that resonates with people, something where you're able to build a relationship with people, which is why my co-founder and I have been so deliberate about taking a step back and figuring out what's the bigger story that we're trying to tell here. how can we unite people and get people on the same page? Like, do you believe that women can have it all? That way we're able to direct the company in a way that we're serving people who all buy into this unified dream.
Okay. Now, you brought up competition, which is a great transition because I have come to understand that you are a pitch master and that you have won quite a bit of money in non-dilutive funding. So can you tell me a little bit more about like why you decided to go that route, like why pitch competitions work for you, and like what is the secret to an amazing pitch?
Okay, so let me take a step back. I was working at Wayfair 2022 when we first built our first version of the website. And I was very comfortable. Like, I was making a good salary, a little over $200K a year. But I was not sleeping a lot because I was working on Wayfair, working at Wayfair and working on WellCapped at night. And then it got to the point where, so you know how they do the employee reviews? I can't remember the scale, but let's just say it was like A, B, C, D, F. I got a C. And I was like, oh, I am not average.
Me?
Like,
not me, girl. This must be somebody else's scale. Okay.
So I was like, yeah, so this is my 2-month notice. Right. In 2 months, I won't be here.
So did they like try to put you on a PIP or did they?
No, it wasn't that. I think my pride just got in the way. And I was like, let me leave on a kind of a mid note.
Yeah. just know y'all gave me a C, but I'm giving y'all a C back and I won't be here.
And I learned so much at that company. So I'm very happy. But I put in a 2-month notice, and then April 1st, 2022 was my last day of corporate. And I remember at the time, I don't know if you remember 2022, but capital was just flowing. Like, all you had to do is say hi and money was in your account.
Like, post-COVID, there was just a lot of like money in a lot of different directions, right? And, you know, there was a lot of grant funding. There was a lot of promises made. There were a lot of new venture funds popping up. And then everything just shriveled up.
I had so many people. I had like a good... we had a good 800,000 committed.
Wow.
So I was like,
you were raising like a traditional round?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
You know, I had just started. Remember, I got the idea in 2021, so I'm very new to the startup world.
You're doing this like less than a year.
In 2020, I didn't even know what a startup was. Venture. I knew I had friends who worked in venture capital, but I had no clue what that was.
Like what they were actually doing.
I thought these times were like reflective of all times. So I quit my job, and I remember I was on a panel and someone asked about the pitfalls of raising capital as a woman of color. And I was so arrogant. I was like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Someone else need to take that question. And boy, do pride come before the fall.
But you know, on the other side of that is I hate when they ask that question. It's like, because like anytime, especially if there's a panel and they want to have the diversity and inclusion panel and they want to include the Black women and the Black men and whatnot, and maybe one Hispanic person, one Latinx person, and then the question is always, so, you know, how do you overcome imposter syndrome? What is it like navigating the tech space as a Black woman? Do you feel intimidated? Do you feel discriminated against? It's just like, no, I'm a founder who just happens to be Black, right? And so, you know, even if, you know, money is flowing, it's just like, why are you asking me this dumb question, right? Like, why are you asking me this, like, loaded question? And the undertones is like, you guys know that there's discrimination in the industry. You're not going to do anything about it, right? And so, like, why do we keep talking about it? We could be talking about solutions as opposed to how do I feel, you know?
Let's figure out how to fix it. But I had at my last job, the majority of my income was locked up in stock options, and those went down. So I thought I had saved up a year's worth of salary. It wasn't. By the time I was able to move it, it was completely different. It was a very hard year. Like, I was like, wait a minute, God. No. I thought we were in it together.
But
But I'm grateful
sometimes
for
you have
that
those
area.
seasons of famine, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
the famine will make you appreciate the feast, right?
Yeah.
So
No, I'm grateful because it reminded me of how to maneuver under pressure. And also we had to get super scrappy, like figure out how to market a company with no marketing dollars.
now I want to get back to your pitch strategy because you didn't have marketing dollars. Like things were going really well at first. It seems that you were you had a bunch of money committed in a traditional round. Then things started to shrivel up. So it sounds like you might have been pitching anyway, but now you got to pitch.
Yeah. I first pitched WellCapped maybe 3 months after starting the company. Maybe 4 months. No, it was 3 months after starting the company. So from my aunt giving me the idea to me making my first pitch deck to pitching in front of people, there were maybe 90 something days that passed. And we pitched at Black Women Taught Tech, and we ended up getting third place somehow. And then
Do you
from
feel like the
there,
other companies weren't as good?
no, I thought they were good.
But you mean third
there's-
place in that, like, oh wow, like I just been at this 3 months and like
I
I'm in
remember
here.
they were announcing the winners, and it was all virtual because of COVID. And I was just sitting back, had my camera off, eating my snack, and then I was like,
you had checked out, and look at you winning money.
So after that, we went on to win a few more. So far, we've won over 200,000 in pitch competitions, non-dilutive. But yeah, a lot of it was just us being like, okay, people aren't writing checks right now. We have to figure out something else. So we just started applying to all types of pitch competitions.
What's the most unusual pitch competition you pitched at and won?
I remember when I did the veteran Shark Tank pitch competition. Everyone had really cool companies like doing some really cool stuff, and it was someone high ranking came in who was like talking to all of us and introducing himself. And when I said what my company did, he kind of like tuned out and said, oh, "Okay," and like went on to the next. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if we're gonna get this one." Like whenever I would introduce WellCapped as a wig rental company, you could almost see like the interest leave their body. But we ended up winning that pitch competition. And I honestly did not think we were gonna get that.
You just never know. You just gotta show up as your best self regardless.
Yeah. So that one was the biggest surprise. Yeah, we've won. We've done really well. A lot of times I've been competing against companies doing really interesting things. I'm just like, how did y'all pick the wig company? But
I think it's so relatable as much as it is a little unconventional for this market. I mean, I think everyone knows someone who wears wigs or someone who wears weaves, or even if like you're not in the wig for like, aesthetics or vanity purposes, like, there's women who have lost their hair, alopecia from cancer or whatnot. So everyone, I think, at their core can relate to that. The rental market or the rental model is different, but there's something for everybody. And if this is a big enough market, I'm sure somebody would be interested in. Clearly, you're seeing that come to fruition.
Yeah. And also, I'm big on analogies to make people understand something that's new to them. So when it came to the types of wigs, I didn't want people to think that we were selling like the $30 wigs that you would see at the hair store or that their grandmothers may have wore. So what I would talk about were the world of suits. If you think about like your ready to wear suit that you can go to Nordstrom's and get straight off the rack, that's your $50 wig. And then you have your custom suit where you might nip and tuck it. And then you have your bespoke suits. And those are like the Cardi B wigs, right? The Beyonce wigs, right? All scalp. We don't go after the ready to wear wigs or the bespoke wigs. We go after that custom wig, and we make them custom by providing, we have 3 different sizes. And then we put an adjustable strap in all of them.
Okay, so it feels like a bespoke experience at a
Yes.
lower and more
Yeah.
reasonable price
To
point.
do
Okay.
bespoke each
Affordable
one, yeah.
luxury.
Exactly.
Okay. I see what you did
Exactly.
there. Now, I know you mentioned before that your cousin is your co-founder.
Yes.
What is that like? Because so many people struggle with
Yeah.
finding a co-founder or having, that co-founder relationship is kind of like a marriage.
Yeah.
So, what is it like working with your cousin and the pros, cons?
I was nervous about it going in because we have a very, very close knit family. I'm talking you get in trouble at school, all your aunties and your business. Like, I heard about you. Like,
Mm.
so we have a very close knit family. I didn't want anything to ever come in between that. But honestly, working with her is so easy. We'll be on the phone for 3 hours talking about everything. It feels like building with a best friend. And because we know each other so well, if she gives me feedback, I know it's not coming from a malicious place or a place meant to hurt or like try to cheat me out of something. And same with her, like I could tell her like I don't agree with that, and here's why, and there's no hard feelings. I might roll my eyes, but
Now,
that's about
when
it.
you thought about co-founders, was she the first person that came to mind,
Mm-mm.
or like did she just have the right skill set that just it made sense?
Yeah, she's already been like the family stylist, the person who picks out everyone's outfits when we're going out. She's just very creative, the family event planner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more of a numbers person, so it ended up being a good fit. We just both happened to be. She was at Deloitte, I was at PwC.
So y'all both
Yeah.
had like the business savvy
Mm-hmm.
and knew how to run big
Yeah.
business, and just decided to hunker down on
Yep.
startup world
Yeah,
together.
and she actually already had a blog called My Low Budget, which helped people find the Chanel bags for an affordable price. So she already had this thesis of, hey, luxury should be affordable. You shouldn't have to break the bank to look and feel your best.
So she was living you guys' thesis ahead
Basically,
of
yeah.
it. Like she's your target
Yeah.
customer, and I bet that makes it a lot easier to
Yeah.
kind of dissect the mental and the anatomy of like what your target audience
Yep.
is thinking.
And where are they shopping? And what are they listening to? And who are they seeing as the authority of beauty right now? And how do we tap into that person? Yeah.
Sure. So what can we anticipate next from WellCap? What's next? What's new now and next?
A lot of it is going to be really doubling down on that whole you can have it all mindset, showing women in different settings, showing women at the boardroom, at the gym, at home cooking, uh, fishing, I don't know, whatever you want to hiking, whatever that may look like. So showing women in different settings and women not having to feel like they have to choose between this or that.
Now, where can we find WellCap? I know you can get it. You can get access to it virtually, but where else could it be found? Like, is it are there different storefronts in different markets?
Yeah, so right now, wellcapped.com, but I believe we have some good news coming soon. I just don't want
Okay.
to jinx anything. So right now, www.wellcapped.com.
Okay.
And if you want to buy like merchandise, swag, or even bundles, we're on Amazon.
Okay.
I believe we may have a physical presence very soon. So I'm
All
very
right. Well, we're
excited
gonna
about
stay
that.
tuned for that. Y'all follow WellCap. Now, wrapping up, what advice would you give to an aspiring founder who is thinking about taking the leap from more of a traditional background into the tech space?
Yeah, nothing good happens from your comfort zone. So if you think about your time at the gym, whenever you start feeling yourself on the treadmill and you're breathing too easily, you're not building endurance at that point, even when you're lifting weights. So when you're building and you're growing, it's going to feel uncomfortable, and you just have to be okay with that. And it's not going to be fear is going to try to creep up, but you have to know, like, in order for me to become the fullest version of myself, I have to get past this fear. I have to want my dreams and become a person I was made or created to be. I have to desire that person more than I fear my fears. Did that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. Well, we appreciate having you here, Shante,
Thank you for having me,
and
Amanda.
for sure. And everybody check out WellCap.
Yes. Follow us on Instagram and where else? Sorry. Oh, LinkedIn too.
Okay, LinkedIn is interesting for WellCapped. I bet
the bougie black girls
again. The
corporate
corporate baddies.
We'll
I got it.
Afrotech. Yep.
I will be too. So I will see you soon.
Yeah,
I will see you soon
to grab lunch
for sure.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.